All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to look at food security, but with a twist. We're going to put on our economics hats and break down a really practical strategy to help feed your family, one that goes way beyond the grocery store.
I know, it sounds a little crazy, right? But with food prices going up and up, it's a question worth asking. What if you could slash your food budget? Not by making more money, but by using a smarter, more calculated approach. That's the puzzle we're going to solve today.
So here's our game plan. Think of this as your investment portfolio for food security. We'll start with the basic principle, then move into acquiring assets, doing market research, bartering for goods, making long-term investments, and of course, managing your risk. It's a full-blown financial strategy, but for your pantry.
Okay, so first things first. The core idea here is a really simple economic trade-off. It's a plan that costs almost no money, but it does, as the source material says, require a good bit of legwork.
You see, this is a total mindset shift. Your currency here isn't cash, it's your time and your effort. It's about actively going out and securing food, and it's a strategy that's open to literally anyone who's willing to put in the work.
All right, let's talk asset acquisition. What are we actually hunting for? And look, we're not just talking about grabbing a few dandelion leaves for a fancy salad here. This is practical foraging, viewed through the sharp eye of an economist. We are targeting foods that give us a real, substantial caloric return.
And this chart shows you exactly what I mean. On one side, you've got your low-calorie diversions. Interesting, maybe, but they won't fill you up. On the other side, these are our high-value assets, calorie-packed, storable foods like nuts, fruits, and tubers. These are the things that are actually going to make a difference.
So the big question is, where do you find these amazing assets? Well, you conduct market research. You've got to scout your territory. The source actually suggests making family road trips into a kind of game, planning your route around parks and older neighborhoods just to map out where the free food is. You know, bring a few bags, a bucket. You never know when you'll spot a prime opportunity.
So, what are you looking for? What are those telltale signs? You're looking for fruit trees so heavy with fruit the branches are bending, nuts all over the road, groves of trees in a park that nobody seems to be taking care of. In economic terms, these are all signs of a market surplus, a huge opportunity just waiting for you.
Let's zoom in on a couple of these absolute gold mines. Black walnuts and chestnuts? Fantastic. They're loaded with calories and you can store them for ages. And then you've got things like Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes. They're everywhere, they're easy to identify, and they are a seriously substantial source of food.
And it's the same deal with fruit. The source material talks about finding pear trees, wild persimmons, and even pawpaws in a public park with the fruit literally just sitting on the ground, left to rot. Can you believe that? These are incredibly valuable assets that most people just walk right past.
Now, any good economist will tell you, you cannot invest without doing your research. And in this world, your number one tool is a solid identification guide. The source is crystal clear on this. You have to be 100% certain of what you're picking, and a good, reliable book is absolutely essential to make sure your assets are safe.
Okay, moving on to our next strategy. This one builds on our market research, and it's a classic economic exchange. We're talking about old-school bartering, a service-for-goods deal where you trade your work for a piece of the pie.
And the thinking here is pure economics, right? It's all about supply and demand. By the end of the season, a lot of gardeners have a massive surplus. They've got way more produce than they can handle. They have an oversupply of goods, but they have a high demand for labor. That's where you come in.
So, how do you do it? Well, it's actually a pretty simple and really respectful process. You spot a garden that looks like it could use a hand, you politely go up and introduce yourself, you offer to help with the harvesting, and then you negotiate a fair share for your work. It's a total win-win. They get their garden taken care of, and you get paid in food.
And what are we bartering for? Again, think high-yield, long-term assets. The source talks about things like butternut squash, sweet potatoes, even field corn that you can grind into your own cornmeal. These are heavy hitters that will stock your pantry for a long time.
All right, this next part is for the true long-term investors out there. See, a smart economist doesn't just acquire and spend their assets. No, they reinvest them to build future wealth. And we can apply that exact same principle here.
This is such a perfect example. When you find a patch of Jerusalem artichokes, you don't just eat every single one. You take some of those tubers and you plant them in your own yard. With $0 down, you've just created a food source that will keep producing year after year. That's an infinite return on investment. You just can't beat that.
Okay,
And just like any smart investment strategy, we have to talk about risk management. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a calculated plan, and it has to be done safely, legally, and with respect. So here's the forager's code of conduct. These are the non-negotiables, okay? Number 1, on private property, you always ask permission, period. Number 2, know the rules for public parks and lands. Number 3, and this is the big one, you have to be absolutely 100% positive about what you found before it ever goes near your mouth. And finally, be a good steward. Don't be greedy. Take what you need and leave plenty for wildlife and for other people.
So there it is, an economist's guide to food security. It's a framework that challenges you to look at the world around you, your own neighborhood, as a marketplace, just brimming with opportunity. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you're looking through this new lens, what's the first high-value, untapped asset you're going to find?